Hello, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us at Space Cowboy Books Online this evening. Well, it's not evening for everybody, but it's evening for me here in Joshua Tree. I'm your host, Jean-Paul Garnier, and tonight at this evening's Flash Science Fiction night, we have Cora Buhlert, Todd Sullivan, and Jana Bianchi. It's truly international event tonight. Cora is joining us from Germany, Todd from Korea, and Jana from Brazil. So excited to have our international community getting together once again. I'm going to start the evening off with Cora. Cora Buhlert was born and bred in Bremen, North Germany, where she still lives today after time spent in London, Singapore, Rotterdam, and Mississippi. Cora holds an MA degree in English from the University of Bremen. She has been writing since she was a teenager and has published stories, articles, and poetry in various international magazines. Cora is a 3-time Hugo finalist for Best Fan Writer and the winner of the 2021 Space Cowboy Award. When she's not writing, she works as a translator and teacher. And I'm going to throw a link to her website in the chat where you can learn more. Tonight, she will be reading a short story entitled Unemployed. Over to you, Cora.
Unemployed. Next, please. Alfred J. Copperfield looked up from his files as his latest client shuffled into his employment agency. Eye stalks peering in all directions at once and tentacles leaving a trail of slime on the linoleum floor. Alfred sighed. Another one of those. He considered himself an enlightened and progressive man. He did not believe in species discrimination or human superiority, so of course he was in favor of the legal Alien Employment Equality Act. At least in theory. For in practice, it was incredibly difficult to find suitable jobs for alien clients, especially if they looked like this poor ugly bugger and left trails of slime wherever they went. Sit down. Alfred pointed at the chair opposite his desk. Somehow, the alien actually did manage to squeeze his body into the chair, dripping yet more slime all over the place. Martha, the cleaning lady, would have a fit. Alfred took a new form from the stack and inserted it into his Electra typewriter. Name? Jörg Gugur, the alien answered. Jörg for short. Place of birth? Uranus. Did you hold any previous jobs on Earth? The alien wiggled his tentacles and eye stalks, which Alfred suspected was supposed to be a knot. I was a cover model. Alfred narrowed his eyes behind his titanium-rimmed glasses. You were what? I was a cover model. The entire mass of tentacles and eye stalks quivered like a bowl of jelly salad. You know, for science fiction magazines. All right, so that explained a lot. I had quite the career, Jörg continued, his dozen eyes turning misty all at once. For a while I was everywhere. Planet stories, thrilling wonder stories, startling stories, amazing stories. I did them all. Except for Astounding, because that asshole Campbell prefers solid rocket ships. And Galaxy, because they're serious business and don't have any rooms for the likes of me. Alfred took a gulp of coffee. That's very interesting. Do you have any references? References? Jörg quivered with outrage at the question. Of course I have references. Do you want to see my cover collection? I modeled for all the great cover artists back in the day. Frank Appel, Virgil Finlay, Earl Bagley, Alan Anderson, George Rosen, Alexander Leidenfrost. I worked for them all. I even modeled for Margaret Brundage once as a stand-in for Xulu, even though I'm much better looking. Alfred had his sincere doubts about that. So, if you don't mind my asking, if your career is going so well, then why are you seeking employment? Are you looking for a career change, or have you looked at the newsstands lately? The creature demanded, quivering like a gelatin mold. The pulps are dead. Deader than a rocket ship after a meteor strike. Oh, there still are science fiction magazines, of course, but they're all serious business for serious scientists now. Jörg hissed every single S with disdain. Bug-eyed monsters like me are juvenile, they say. Jörg pointed at himself with one of his tentacles, dripping slime onto the floor. We are silly, they say. We give the genre a bad name, they say. Almost as if I wasn't there, as if I couldn't hear them. Drops of greenish liquid fell from all of Jörg's dozen eyes at once. Crap, was he crying? Here, Alfred handed Jörg a tissue. And then another, and another. And finally, the whole box. Thank you. Jörg dipped at his dozen eyes with a dozen tissues clutched in a dozen tentacles. I know I tend to get emotional sometimes, but the way they treated me is just so unfair. For 20 years, I've been a consummate pro, modeling in every silly, uncomfortable pose, facing off against every square-jawed spaceman, groping every scantily clad space babe, never complaining, always doing my job. And then one day it's, thanks, pal, but you don't fit the profile of our magazine anymore. Am I not sentient? Do I not have feelings? Do I not bleed green if you cut me? Alfred decided that he'd rather not have the answer to that final question. So, if modeling is out, do you have any idea what you want to do now? Do you have any experience in a different field? Jörg shook his various appendages. Not really. I went straight into modeling when I arrived on Earth. Never really did anything else. Alfred sighed. Of course, he always had to get the impossible to place clients. Do you have any idea what you'd like to do? Jörg scratched himself with one of his tentacles, thinking hard. I like working with women, he finally said. Back in my modeling days, I always got along really well with the female cover models. Sure, on the covers I was forever menacing them or ripping off their clothes, only enough not to upset the censors, of course. But behind the easel, we were all best friends. Not so the male models. Jörg spat a glob of slime onto the floor. They were rude Jörgs, who seemed to forget that they were not really Captain Manly McManus of the Intergalactic Patrol, come to rescue the fair maiden from my slimy embrace. Assholes. So, to sum up, you get along well with female co-workers and have experience in ripping their clothes off? Oh dear, this client was a harassment lawsuit waiting to happen. Unless... Alfred frantically leafed through the stack of employment ads on his desk. Actually, Mr. Jörg? Just Jörg. Well, actually, Jörg, I have just the job for you. The Metropole Theater is looking for an assistant costumer to help the chorus girls with the rapid costume changes. And with your many appendages and your experience in undressing women, you would be perfect for the job. Theater, Jörg twirled his tentacles. I have to admit I'm intrigued. I always wanted to take to the stage. And though I don't wear clothes myself, I have to admit that I'm fascinated by fashion. Martley, that's Margaret Brundage, you know, told me so many stories about her time as a fashion illustrator. Jörg rose from the visitor chair, dripping yet more slime onto the floor. He held out a tentacle. Thank you, Mr. Copperfield. The tentacle squeezed Alfred's hand, coating it in viscous green slime. Frantically, Alfred reached for a tissue, until he remembered that he had given the entire box to Jörg. You've been a great help, Mr. Copperfield. The alien shuffled out, trailing slime as he went. Martha, bring a bucket and a mop, Alfred called into the intercom as soon as Jörg was gone. And a new box of tissues. The end.
Thank you. That was Cora Buhlert with Unemployed. Next up, we're going to have Todd Sullivan. Todd Sullivan currently lives in Seoul, South Korea, where he teaches English as a second language. He has had more than 24 short stories, poems, essays, and novelettes published across 5 countries, including The Windchild Chronicles. This is book 1, Hollow Men, which is a wonderful fantasy novel. I'm going to throw a link to that in the chat. Tonight, Todd is going to be sharing a story with us entitled Reaction Shot. Over to you, Todd.
All right, thank you for having me, John Paul. And the title of this story is Reaction Shot. Tapping the control button on his smart glasses, Hai activated the miniaturized transformer in his backpack as he passed Robin. The coil wrapped around a magnet hummed to life and stripped the influencer swarm from her. Hai didn't pause. The client, as he called those he scammed, we immediately know that the hundreds of nads no longer follow the design configuration around her. He slipped through the tired commuters in Gangnam Station and turned left into a new wave of people pouring up the escalator. Ahead of him was a parenting facility where a senior technician would be waiting with the hive. He knocked on the only bathroom door that could be locked in Gangnam Station, and a senior technician let him in. Synchronizing their actions, Hai turned off the transformer as the technician turned on another in the metal box, and the tiny cameras, no bigger than gnats, swarmed to the hive. Did we get them all? Hyde tapped the side of the smart glasses to scroll through the entire electromagnetic spectrum in search of any lingering nads. Every last one, and the client has realized something's wrong. He pointed to a wrist display wrapped around his forearm. She's placing the call now. Over the past month, he has sent emails spoofing Horde, the medical company that had created the NADS nanotechnology. Once used solely for eliminating tumors in cancer patients by injecting life-saving medicines directly into targeted cells, Horde had re-engineered the nanobots to form tiny recording sensors for wealthy social media users. Tethered to an electromagnetic influencer carrier, the NAS could be set to a designated configuration so that they swarmed around the user, taking shots and streaming content from every conceivable angle. Hyde had fabricated daily missives similar to what Horde sent their users concerning updates to terms and conditions. All he needed was for a potential client to click on a fake link, which then uploaded a program in the system that popped up in the event of the swarm being stripped away. The more savvy influencers ignored the pop-up and called Horde directly. Others, who panicked over the sudden loss of their live streams, reached out to the first sign of assistance that flashed on their screen. Hyde predicted Robin would do the latter. Life seemed a daily buffet of novel experiences to her, and she often had a larger number of NAS trained on her face to catch reaction shots. She had gained 4.3 million followers who had become enamored by her childlike features. Her innocent eyes, cherubic expression, and shimmering red hair captivated her audience. Hyde answered the call. This is Horde. How may I help you? My swarm. I've lost connection to my swarm. I'm so sorry to hear that. Please remain calm, and we'll do all we can to assist you. How long have you been disconnected from your swarm? It just happened. My subscribers are flooding my feed. They're so worried. Yes, we understand the concerns. I'm going to help you locate your swarm. Sometimes, if there's a strong enough electromagnetic field in the vicinity, the swarm will be stripped to the source. The first thing is to do is discover their location. You can try and do that yourself. I've already tried. Hints of a whine made her normally upbeat voice tremble. They have just disappeared. I understand. There are additional ways that you can find a swarm. I'm going to send you a link and just click on it. This will give us remote access to your system. Hyde sometimes lost clients at this point. People load remote access to their systems, but the technology controlling swarms was complicated, and many of the influencers were preteen, newly rich, and ignorant on the nuanced operations of NADS. Hyde gave the senior technician a thumbs up and sent Robin the link. She clicked on it immediately. Hyde blacked out a portion of her screen and uploaded a program to freeze her out of the system until she paid the ransom fee. It was time to activate in 24 hours, well after this phone call, so that they would not attract suspicion. I think I found your swarm, Hyde said. It was stripped by a magnet to the rails. With just a quick call to station maintenance, I can free them now. Hyde nodded to the technician. They placed the box on the floor, set the time lock, and stepped outside. A minute later, the box sprang open and the nads swarmed out. Thank you so much for your help. For being so fantastic, I would like to thank you live. Would that be okay? Hyde, surprised by the request, glanced at his senior technician. I'm sorry, but we're nowhere near your location. You won't be able to stream us on your feed. Oh, not my regular channel. An invitation popped up on the screen of Hyde's smart glasses. This one for paying subscribers only. It's very exclusive. Only other influencers have access to it. Hyde stopped short. The digital room had a still shot of him walking through the subway station. How did you, he began. Robin laughed. Look behind you, she said. And through his lenses, he saw the swarm was following them, a cloud of minuscule sensors uncoupling to the nano size they had been designed for when battling cancer. This challenge way of punished scammers preying on influencers. The cloud enveloped him. He felt on the slightest tingle in his nose and throat. On the live stream, the screen split into three. In one, he saw the nanobots infiltrating his trachea and recombining to inject nanoparticles that filled his lungs. On the other stream, he started seeing his technician fall to the subway floor, gasping for breath. Hyde was soon to follow as oxygen was squeezed from his lungs. In the final screen, he saw Robin's reaction shot, a cruel's purred smile twisting her childlike features as she watched him suffocate. The end.
Thank you, Todd. That was Todd Sullivan with Reaction Shot. Next up, we're going to have Jana Bianchi. Jana is a Brazilian writer, translator, and editor-in-chief of, let me see if I can get this right, Mafagafo magazine. Her fiction has appeared in Portuguese in several collections and magazines. In English, her work has appeared in Strange Horizons, Clark's World, and Fireside, and she also attended Clarion West in 2021. I'm going to throw a link to her website in the chat where you can learn more of her. And Jana is going to be sharing a story with us this evening called Dead Matter.
Thank you. Okay, so the story is called Dead Matter. We knew we were doomed when the city started coughing. Her being sick was never a problem, you see. We were used to lots of minor illness symptoms, small earthquakes with the supernatural heat coming from the asphalt whenever she had a fever, trees losing more leaves than usual due to some trivial allergy, Tietê's turmoiled waters on bad crump days. It was part of being a living city, and that was easy to deal with. A couple of days per month with the fluvial bus system shut down, acupuncture on strategic buildings with the right drills, a day off for everyone so she could recover. But those coughs were different. The drains smelled ketonic. The few eco factories in the city outskirts blew out a dark smoke, uglier than the type she reportedly exhalated back in the Grey Era, when the city themselves were still full synthetic, when they were still dead. Bad signs. Not long after the first symptoms, the network failures came. The green net, the fungi IC, even the few remaining internet connections got unstable. Neurological damage, it seemed. Nobody wanted to say it aloud, but we all thought about Motala, Junot, Secondi Takoradi, and the others. They had reported similar crises along the previous years, and together with the rest of the world, we had mourned them. We had changed our avatars on Fungi IC to show our support, relieved it wasn't our beloved city that was slowly dying. But well, Motala, Junot, Secondi Takoradi, they were so far from São Paulo, different from São Paulo. It would never happen to us, right? We tried to conceal the crisis, calling all local urbiologists we had, the best of the world, even better than the ones from New York and Tokyo, as we used to brag. Then we tried everything they proposed, from broadcasting soothing music using obsolete radio antennas to collective wall massage every night. We even had a real dream team of herbiologists going down the city guts to an unprecedented surgery. Nothing changed. Or make it, nothing changed for better. One morning, the city woke up retching so much it flooded Ibirapuera Lake. The next day, dead birds rained from the sky. It was when the first people started to get sick too, following the natural evolution of a systematic urban disease. Finally, word started to spread. São Paulo's imminent death made the hollow news all around the world. As a result, the city borders emptied. No requests to enter, even though there were thousands of people trying to immigrate to our city every day. There were no evidence urban diseases were contagious, but who would risk it? The same had happened to all other 6 cities. No help was coming. We were dying, and we were dying alone. That's why we were so surprised when they arrived. A large group of people coming afoot from São Paulo satellite towns. A really diverse group. They had only one thing in common. They all had got their SP citizenship denied. For some reason, reasons we knew very well but tried not to talk about, so we didn't spoil our fame of a very warm and welcoming place for all kinds of people, they had been considered inept to live in one of the best cities of the world. The mayor went to meet them herself. As her scribe, I went along. Only one person approached at first. She was a really old woman, probably in her 140s, sustained by a metallic brace. Yellow flowers grew from the brown skin of her back. She had a spider living in a carving at her thigh bone. Her hair was braided with electrical cables, and her eyes flickered with colorful LEDs. We all had our own urbiologic tweaks, but she looked like an urban system herself. She didn't speak Portuguese very well and refused to use automatic translators, but somehow it was very easy to understand her. She proposed we let all those people in so we could blend with them and make the city stronger against diseases. Had we forgot the old biological principles? Hadn't we noticed that all those 6 cities had also closed their borders just years before falling? Blend to survive. It was so simple. Of all principles we had once borrowed from nature to thrive, that was the one we couldn't have left behind. We were so dumb and proud, her eyes said, and she was right. Maybe we already knew deep inside what she was saying, so there was no hesitation. The mayor ordered to let them in. We had plenty of space and resources, we always had. While all those people were being settled, the mayor went over to talk to the old lady. I remember our tired and scared leader saying she understood blending could strengthen the city for the future, but how could that stop the disease immediately? I bring many things inside me, my child, the woman replied, and I will share it with you. It will spread and grow. What do you mean? I asked. She smiled and went to the wide window facing the Chiete River. I bring spores of new times, but also carry lots of beliefs we all should leave behind, she said, and opened the glass. And then, right before jumping to the waters, she said something I will never forget. Many years have passed since I saw the metallic brace pulling her to the depths of the river. But even now, while I watch grandchildren of our mixed peoples splashing the same Chiete clear waters while they play after school, her last, language-less words still echo in my head. Don't forget, my dears, that matter is yet the best fertilizer of all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jana. That was Jana Bianchi with Dead Matter. Before that, you heard Todd Sullivan with Reaction Shot, and opening the show was Cora Buhlert with Unemployed. You can find links to all of their works in the chat there. Thank you so much to our readers for this evening. Thank you so much to our audience for joining us. Our next event is coming up on July 7th. We're going to have Eugen Bacon, author of Mage of Fools, joining us from Australia. So that'll be another great event. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are.